This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to All Have Another podcast with Lindsay Hine. I'm your host, Lindsay. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so happy to have you. If you haven't checked out our newest podcast in the Sandy Boy Productions podcast network, make sure you go check out the Ready to Run podcast. Hosted by Kurt Roser, physical therapist and sub-elite long-distance runner, and Efron Cabalas, DO, sports medicine physician. These guys are bringing great conversations with athletes, coaches, clinicians, and researchers to share knowledge within the field of sports medicine, and I really think you'll enjoy the show. It's called Ready to Run. All right, today on All Have Another, my guest is Helen Schlachtenhaufen. Helen is a 1,500-meter runner. She recently placed 6th at the USA National Championships in the 1,500. She placed 5th last summer at the Olympic trials, missing 3rd place by just 2 seconds. She then went on to run her personal best of 4:01 in the 1,500 meters at her first Diamond League last summer in Sweden. And she is one that y'all are going to want to be watching if you aren't already doing that. Helen went to Dartmouth and ran with the Saucony Freedom Track Club for a little bit after college, but now is running with Nike, which she recently announced this past March. And you know, when we recorded this episode, she had recently signed. This episode was recorded a couple months ago, so I'm excited to finally get it out to everybody and share Helen's story with you all. If you are not already staying in touch with what she's up to or following her or having your eyes on her in the 1,500, you got to make sure you do that. You can find Helen on Instagram. She's Helen Schlach, SCHLACH17 over there. All right, friends, this episode is supported by Previnex. I talk about Previnex all the time, and I just really believe in their products. They're clinically effective supplements that promote longevity, performance, and everyday health. If you are looking for a really great protein powder, I love their Nourify Plus. I love the chocolate and the vanilla. So easy to shake up after a run and get some protein in. I usually shake it up and have a banana on the side, get my protein and my carbs right away. And they also have multivitamins, and what you runners might really be interested in is the Joint Health Plus, which offers the most comprehensive and complete joint protection and relief available on the market. They also have kids vitamins that I feed to my kids every single day. Go to Previnex.com, use the code ANOTHER or Lindsay15, LINDSEY15 for 15% off your first order. All right, friends, thanks for being here and enjoy my conversation with Helen. All right. Well, today on All Have Another podcast, we have Helen Schlachtenhaufen on the show. Welcome to the show, Helen.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
So you're training in Flagstaff right now.
Yeah, I've been out here for a couple of weeks, and then out here for a few more doing some altitude.
So fun. Do you like it?
I do. You know, at first, this is probably my 3rd time doing altitude training. My first time, I was like, I don't know why anybody would put themselves through this, but now I think I'm used to like the specific type of like suffering that you like have up here, but I like it. I feel like I get a good like bang for my buck out of it too.
It's kind of a necessary evil though when you get to training at your level, right? Like you kind of have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like, I think it helps me a lot. Like, it's tough to be away from home, but I do think it's worth it. And like, there's a certain like focus too you get when you're like in a place like specifically to train. So I think that's also part of it.
Okay, so who are you training with right now? Like, who are you at camp with? I need to know all your team situation stuff.
So right now, no one. Yeah, I'm mostly on my own. I'm at camp with my boyfriend's teammate, Shrader. yeah, we like every single time I've come out here, it's been like less and less of us until now it's just the two of us out here. But have been able to kind of like jump in with some other runners who are like also just kind of out here training, which has been nice.
Okay, so I know you were being coached by Kurt, Molly Huddle's husband, but are you still being coached by him?
Yeah, so I'm still coached by Kurt.
Okay,
yeah.
Tell me about that relationship.
Kurt is awesome. I've loved working with Kurt. So I started training under him last spring, which was like a little bit scary, like going with a new person that close to the Olympic trials. So like, I feel like I got really, really lucky. He's just like a very like level-headed, calming person, and I've really liked his training. Like it hasn't been anything super different than what I've done in the past, which I like. It's been like a nice, smooth transition. But yeah, he's been great.
How did you choose to work with him?
So it kind of just like shook out that way, I guess. So at the time I was with Saucony, and we had kind of like they just let go of our coach, and so we had kind of like a void, and he stepped in to the interim since he like they're based in Providence and I was in Boston, so it seemed like it was like an easy kind of like natural thing. And then just like really, really liked working with him, so kept on.
That's nice. Are you still based in Boston?
Yeah, I still am.
Okay, tell me what you think about living in Boston. The weather, all the things. And you weren't there for the Boston Marathon. You lived there, but you're in Flagstaff.
And it had to have been like the nicest, like looking at least from afar, Boston Marathon weather, like weekend that I have ever seen. Yeah, I love Boston. I've been there. This is probably my 5th year, I think, which is hard to believe. COVID's such like a time warp. I feel like I have not lived there for that long. Yeah, definitely like a lot of positives and negatives, you know, like to any city, a lot of traffic, and it can be chaotic, but it is like a pretty incredible running community and just community in general. And like, you know, like the winter is tough. Luckily, I've like gotten to escape it. Like a lot of the past few years just going away to training camp, but the spring and the fall there are just like absolutely beautiful. And like, I mean, it's also cool. I feel like I've never really been to a city where like everybody just really likes like being outside, whether it's running or biking or walking or like anything. Like any day you go out on like the river, and there are just people like everywhere just doing their thing. And I think I really like that.
Do you live like in the city?
So I actually live in Cambridge.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, pretty close. I'm probably like a 10-minute ski ride from the downtown.
Yeah, I usually stay in Cambridge when we do.
Really?
When we go out to Boston, if we go out for the marathon, we usually stay in Cambridge just because it's like it's just a little simpler. Like it's not so crazy crowded, and it is like a quick little bike ride over the bridge just to get over there. If you want to like bike to the expo or something.
Yeah, where in Cambridge do you stay?
I don't even know. We stay at I mean, you probably know all the streets and all the places, but we stay it's usually one of the Marriott's, like a Marriott suite, like Spring Hill Suites or something like that, I think.
Okay.
It's like there's a restaurant right next to it, and I forget what it's called, but we usually like just walk over there and sit at the bar and, you know, the day or two before and hang out. And it just seems, not that I don't want to be in the crowds in Boston, but like it is kind of a little bit more chill over there.
A little. Yeah. Especially like marathon weekend, it can get pretty like crazy. So.
Yeah. Like you're still with a bunch of marathoners in the hotels, but it's just not quite as congested.
Yeah, totally.
So you're sponsored by Nike, which congratulations. That's like a relatively new thing, right?
Yeah. Super new. Signed just a couple months ago.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me about the switch from Saucony to Nike and the decisions that played into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it wasn't like it wasn't like a huge like process or a huge decision. I think I was just kind of like ready for a change, and like that's just kind of like what ended up happening.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I really, really liked me and everyone else, the Nike spikes and like the Nike product,
like everyone else.
So like that that made it an easy choice on that front. And then like I'd been with a team at Saucony, and that team had kind of like fallen apart, just everybody going different directions. So it didn't seem like there was like that much of a future with that for me anymore. So yeah, it was just like kind of like I was ready for like something new.
Okay, so I'm curious. You live in Boston and you're a 1500 meter runner, and we know we have a lot of 1500 New Balance women living in Boston. Do you ever hop in to do like a workout with them?
Yeah. I love meeting up with them. They're like such a great group. Over the fall, I feel like I did some stuff with them because like it's hard because we're not all there at the same time because they also come out to Flagstaff a lot. But then I'll sometimes meet up with them out here too. But yeah, that has been like a really, really nice thing being in Boston, being able to like link up with them whenever I can.
Do you ever want to be part of a team? I feel like that's just like the direction a lot of people head, and we still see some like super legit athletes like yourself training on their own, but tell me your feelings on that.
So I actually like have always really like that's like something I've loved about the sport is being part of a team. So like I've never actually like sought out training on my own. It just kind of like I said, like the team that I was on slowly, like over the last like 2 years, just kind of devolved to the point that I just like ended up training on my own. Sure. But like, if I had the choice, I would definitely pick being on a team.
Okay.
I think it just kind of like happened this way, but like I definitely prefer to train with other people. And that's why, like, I mean, there's an aspect I'll say of training on your own or like having the flexibility of being on your own that is nice. Like you can base everything around like your specific needs. Like I can go out to altitude when I want and like also still be able to like work in with other people like when you want. But definitely there's something like really, really nice about like the team dynamic and like that kind of like support system that I miss and really, really enjoy having, especially like through college and all of that. So
do you feel like you get a little bit of support like that just from the running community in general? I always think it's so cool that group like people from different groups and teams sync up to, like, if you're in Flagstaff and you know of a couple other ladies in Flagstaff, you're like, hey, you want to sync up for a run?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think like the running community is just very like small and tight knit, and so like you don't have to necessarily be like on the same team or the same brand as somebody to like run together and have that like kind of relationship. So I think I would say definitely like the running community does serve that role as well.
Okay, so Helen, for those listening, was fifth at the Olympic trials in the 15 last summer. So it was a pretty big year for you. You feel like you had a lot of breakthroughs?
I mean, obviously, so fifth was like definitely like a bittersweet finish because like obviously I was shooting to make the team, but also at the same time, like if I had like asked my college self if I like ever thought that I would be in that position, like that was like just nothing that I even like had on the table for myself. So I would say like that was definitely a breakthrough year for me. And then competing also like through the rest of the summer at like some kind of higher level, higher pressure meets and just like having to like manage that stress and still try to perform well. I think that was like a big step for me as a runner and as a person, honestly.
What do you think that last year taught you and like the wisdom that you took from that you'll be able to take with you to try to make a world team this summer?
So, I mean, specifically with like trying to make a world team, I think like the rounds are tough. And it's tough to like try to like stay calm and focused over like a period of time. So I think just having experience doing that, will help. I'm someone who gets like really, really nervous and like worked up before races. So I think just having that like practice of like trying to be like as like zen as possible, which honestly for me is like not that at all. But just like being able to like manage like nerves more effectively so that they don't like tip over the edge where it becomes like destructive. I think that helps. And then I also just think like having like the confidence that like I can compete like on that level and like not being like intimidated by other people, like feeling just like a sense of like when you get to the starting line, like I belong there. I think that always just like helps when you're at big competitions, like helps you feel like empowered.
Okay. I'm wondering like, you know, saying that you get nervous, I think everybody gets nervous in some way, shape or form. And some people handle like those nerves a little bit maybe better than others or whatever. But like, do you get nervous saying that you know what I mean? Because you don't want your competitors to think, oh, well, Helen's nervous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I like definitely you don't want to seem nervous before the race. You want to seem like you're just like have it all together. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think everyone gets nervous to like varying degrees. And sometimes I do think it's like a positive, like I think it like makes you able to perform at like a level that you wouldn't in like practice because your like system is so elevated. But then, yeah, it can definitely like quickly become a negative if you like go down the slippery slope of just like spiraling. So, you definitely like beforehand, I'm trying to like walk around like looking like as calm as I can.
What about like, what are some things that you've done to control that? Like to get yourself in the right headspace, because you obviously don't want the nerves to take over.
So that's something I'm definitely still working on. I think for me, like a big part of it is just like the sort of like numbing effect of just getting used to it. Like, so after you always like the first race I do is tough because like you just haven't felt that in a while. But then after like the middle of the summer, I'm just like kind of used to that feeling. For me, also like listening to music is a big thing before. So you're just like not really like focused on like being stressed out. And then I think like being in an environment where you're like around other people and you can like talk and just not all of your like mental energy be directed towards the race and what you're going to do, which is like kind of paradoxically like you'd think you'd want to have all of your focus directed at like the race. But I think like sometimes it's nice to like be a little bit distracted beforehand so that you're not, you know, getting crazy worked up. But yeah, it's like a work in progress. I'm still kind of trying to figure out how exactly to like best manage that.
I feel like most people probably are, right? It's probably a thing that you're constantly working on and refining no matter how skilled you become at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of it too for me is like, so I drink coffee before races, and there's definitely like a fine line with like how much coffee I can have before it starts to make me like a little bit wired and overhyped. So that's part of the equation as well.
Do you reserve coffee for race days? I know some people do a little extra hit of caffeine on like a race day.
I do. I have it pretty much every day. Yeah. I maybe drink like a little bit more on race days. But it pretty reliably, like I would say coffee like really affects me. So pretty reliably affects me like no matter what.
But like on a race day, so like do you wake up in the morning and have coffee, and then obviously we know track races are usually later in the day, then will you get a hit at like 2 or 3 p.m. or something?
Yeah, then I'd have like another one like maybe an hour and a half before I warm up or something.
Okay, like and normally you wouldn't have one that late in the day?
No, definitely not, because then after the race I'm usually like I stay up all night. Yeah. Are
you a night owl?
I am. I've like tried to shift that actually like this altitude trip specifically, because I think I'm probably like one, I'm more productive in the morning, but also like it's so windy here, like it's nice to try to run earlier before the wind really picks up. So like I've tried to like become more of like a normal person on like a normal schedule. But I think if I was like left to my own devices without like this like scheduling of society, I would probably be like a nocturnal person. I'm definitely a night person.
So what does that mean now? What time are you trying to hit the bed?
I've been trying to go to bed like by 10.
Okay.
Out here.
That's pretty normal person time.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes like if I'm home, sometimes I'll like go to bed at like midnight. But then it's just hard because then you like shift and you're off schedule with everybody else. So.
This episode of the podcast is supported by ZocDoc. ZocDoc makes it easy to find quality doctors in your network and in your neighborhood. Plus, with real, verified patient reviews, you can find the right doctor for you, one that actually remembers your name. ZocDoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. ZocDoc's mobile app is as easy as ordering a ride to a restaurant or getting delivery to your house. Search, find, and book doctors with just a few taps. Go to ZocDoc.com/another and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/another, ZocDoc.com/another. All right, back to the show. Okay, so you are in Flagstaff now, and you have a race May 6th, the Sound Running meet, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. How much longer are you in Flagstaff, and where is the Sound Running meet? Where is that taking place? Is that California?
That's in California. So I think that's about 2 weeks now from tomorrow. Yeah, so I'll be in Flagstaff until then, and then I'll just go down straight into the race.
I can't believe that's in 2 weeks.
I can't either. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you said you're with your boyfriend's friend. Is your boyfriend also in Flagstaff?
Yeah, he is.
Okay, so then will he travel with you to the race?
He will. I think he's also going to race, but I'm not sure what yet, the 5K or the 10K.
Okay.
But yeah, he'll be there as well.
Tell me about your boyfriend. I don't know his story.
So his name's Brian Shrader. We both just started on the same Saucony team together. That's how we met in Boston.
Okay.
And then have been together for the last 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been really nice being out here with him. So he's actually from Flagstaff. He
cool.
went to NAU. So it's funny, he did the reverse move that everybody else does, moving from Flagstaff to Boston.
I bet that was a jolt to the system.
Oh yeah, he said it was definitely a culture shock and very different. But I think he likes it as well. But it's fun to be out here with him because we do a lot of running together, and he knows all the spots and shows me all of the trails that he ran on in college, but also just fun stuff from growing up and everything. So yesterday we did this cool run. We ran to the bottom of Fisher's Point, which is just this really pretty huge cliff rock thing that was I don't know. I'm from the Midwest and then have lived out in Boston, so I've never really seen the type of land formations that exist out here. So
I haven't either. I'm also from the Midwest. Where are you from?
I'm from outside of Chicago.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah.
What suburb? Yeah. Not that I will know, but
Lake Forest.
Okay, I've heard of it. I'm from Indy, but
okay.
My husband's from Northwest Indiana, which is an hour outside of Chicago. So
okay, cool.
Haven't been to the Chicagoland area in a while, but they're there for a while. Right out of college, we were kind of up there a lot more, and my sister-in-law lives in Chicago, so I didn't realize that's where you were from.
Cool. Yeah. It looks I haven't been back in a bit, but it looks like they're having a pretty miserable spring so far. My mom and my sister live there, and it's been pretty gloomy.
So how's your boyfriend?
30.
Okay, and so he does 5K and 10K?
Yeah, he's kind of done everything. He also is running he ran the marathon trials and then was running the steeple last summer, so he's kind of bounced around.
What did he do in the marathon trials?
So he ended up dropping out.
Okay.
Kind of a bummer.
Okay.
But he did run 2:13 prior to that at Chicago.
Okay. That's fast.
Yeah. But I think he's kind of moving back from the marathon and kind of looking at going on the track again. So hopefully this summer we'll do some 5Ks and 10Ks. Yeah, we'll see.
So how often can you actually run together? If he's obviously running a little bit faster than you probably. And so but he's doing further distances, so maybe not that much faster.
So I would say, so for training runs, I run decently fast on training runs just because I got used to the last few years, even when we had the team, it was mostly guys that I was training with. So okay. I would just got kind of thrown into the deep end with it and really suffered for 6 months, and then I just kind of adapted and started running with them. So we'll do training runs together, and then sometimes his 5K, 10K pace will line up with my 1500 pace. If I'm lucky, so I can kind of hop onto the back of him if he's doing a track workout or something, which is super, super helpful.
And then what does your training with Kurt look like? Does he totally devise all of your schedule, or are you working in some of that as well? What does that look like?
So it's a pretty nice balance. So he's not I know there are different levels of involvement with different coaches. And I would say he's kind of like a medium level where so he'll write like all of my workouts and specific days that I do like strides or like 200s or kind of things in between workouts. But then from like the standpoint of just like mileage or easy runs, like I kind of do my own scheduling with that, or like when I need a day off, just because I feel like I've done this for long enough at this point that I kind of like know my body and like what I need on that front. But he'll write like all of my workouts, and then I'll just like it's a little hard right now because I'm like out here and he's not. He's about to have a baby in like any day now.
So exciting.
Yeah, so very exciting for them. But so like I'll have to sometimes make like audibles based on the day, which normally I would say he would do if he were there. But it's a nice balance, I'd say.
What does that mean, audibles for the day?
Oh, just like I need to like call make a call based on like if it's like super, super windy and I'm like, oh, like maybe I should do 300s instead of 400s. Like sometimes like I'll make that call where like if he were here, like he would, or maybe he wouldn't, but like, so like, I guess I would have more say in those instances, but usually like he's kind of like the one who's telling me what to do.
So when you're in Boston though, do they live in Connecticut?
They live in Providence.
So is it close enough? Is that close enough for him to come down for workouts?
It's like an hour.
Okay.
So it's not terrible, and we'll kind of do like I'll usually go down to Providence like once a week so that he can like watch a track workout, and then he coaches some people in Providence as well, and so like sometimes I can hop in with like what they're doing depending on the day. So like sometimes that will be helpful, and then so in the past he's come up to Boston for some workouts, but right now is coaching at Brown. Okay. So has been a little bit busier, but hopefully in the summer he'll be able to come up for some again.
Okay, so let's talk about college. You went to an Ivy League school, Dartmouth, and you walked on to the team. So I think that's kind of a fun piece to the story, considering the success that you've had. And I think it brings hope to maybe a listener who might be like a younger runner wanting to have some professional success, but thinking like, if I'm not, if I'm walking onto a college team, like, is that really in my cards?
Yeah, I would say like that definitely, like I would hope like the takeaway is like, you don't have to be like a star like at every point in your career to continue to just like improve, and like a lot of it is just about like what your trajectory is and like the like longevity of your career. I would say as a high schooler is like honestly more important in a lot of ways than like immediate success. But yeah, I definitely was like in high school like pretty good for my school, but just like I wasn't like from a powerhouse program, and so like I didn't even know that I like for sure wanted to run in college. Like I wanted to run on a team, but didn't think that I was like, maybe I'll run for a couple years, I don't really know. And then loved Dartmouth when I visited it, and I talked to, so it's funny because Mark Coogan, who I now like see a lot in Boston, was the coach when I my freshman year of college.
He was at Dartmouth?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so like I'd reached out to him, and he was like, honestly, like you're not really fast enough at this point. And then I like ended up just like getting in and being able to, he was like, you know what, like you can join the team. And then I just like slowly kind of progressed from there. But definitely my freshman year, I think it's like sometimes it's funny to me to think like I would definitely be like the last person that I feel like any of my teammates my freshman year would have thought would be still running.
Oh, that's so funny.
I was definitely like kind of like getting my ass kicked a little bit on the team, but it was like it was honestly a big
your freshman year
experience. My freshman year, yeah.
Because you became you became a school record holder.
Yeah, so I would say like my freshman year was like a big shock to the system, but then and I was also just very caught up in like, like college has like there's so many things to do. Like I was very much in like the college life of just like being overwhelmed by like a million activities. And then I think after that, I got more kind of invested in what I was doing with running. And then just kind of like progressed through my last 3 years. And then, yeah, my senior year, I like went to regionals. My whole goal the whole year had been to make nationals. And then that's where I ran the school record. I like ran a 7-second PR in the 1500, like, and was like, and that's kind of when I decided I also was like, I kind of want to keep running, like, just to see if there's like, because I feel like there's just like more there that I never got to like reach in college. So that's where I kind of decided I want to keep going.
I mean, 7 seconds in the 1500, that's insane.
Yeah, that was like, I think I was just like, I was very like shocked by it. And I think that's where I was like, well, I didn't even like realize that I was running that fast in this race. So like, I feel like I could run faster, and like, I kind of want to like see what I can do.
What was that race like? Were you a leader? Like, what do you think led to it being so fast?
I don't know. I just didn't think about the splits or anything at all. I like literally was like completely single-minded focus of like, I just like really, really wanted to make nationals. And so I just like sat in like the middle of the race, but it was like, just like, no matter what, I just like won't fall off. And then like ended up feeling good the last 200 and like had a pretty good like kick. But yeah, I never thought about like the pace we were running or anything the whole entire time, which I actually would say is like, most of the time, if you're going to run fast, unless it's a time trial situation, like that's the way to do it, is just like not even think about it and just focus on competing.
Yeah, like doing what you're capable of and getting to the finish line as fast as possible in the best place as possible.
Yeah, and then you'll probably run fast. Yeah.
What was it like training or running Ivy League?
So I think it's pretty different. I loved it. I like loved my coaches and like the team and like the culture and environment. Like I had a really, really good experience. But I would say it's definitely, having talked to like a lot of other runners with like a lot of different like backgrounds in the NCAA system, like it's definitely different, just because I feel like at least when I was there, the competition is more just like internal within the Ivy League. And so you're not really getting out to like as many big meets as maybe like other schools. And like, I think the focus is always like a little bit different. We definitely had more rules about like when you could have practice and stuff, because like the academics is always going to like determine the athletics, I guess. So I think in that sense it was different, but I don't know. I think also things are changing now, just because people are like, they're like, schools are competing at like bigger races. They're flying out to California. And like also now BU has become such like a fast track hotspot for like big indoor races, that like now you have more IVs going there in the indoor season. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it.
So it sounds like academics were really important to you. You chose Dartmouth. Did you apply to any other colleges?
I applied to a bunch of other colleges. So I actually almost ended up running at Williams, which is D3, but like I'd really liked the school, and like I was kind of looking for that like small like New England feel. Yeah, so I applied there. I applied to like, I don't even remember now. Some other Ivies as well, I think Cornell and Princeton maybe. But I did really like the like feeling of like, I mean, Dartmouth is pretty unique because it's just like so remote. And like you're just kind of out in the woods, which I really, really liked.
I feel like that would feel, I don't know, maybe going to a big city for school would feel more scary than like being out in the middle of nowhere. But it's a big change from being in your suburb of Chicago. Yeah,
it definitely was. But I was kind of looking for like, I wanted to go somewhere totally new. And like, so I have family in like Connecticut, so I'm like not totally unfamiliar with the East Coast. So it wasn't like it was like a completely random place, but like I was definitely excited about like the idea of like exploring like a new area of the country. And yeah, a city would have been maybe more intimidating, because that just would have been like you're really just like thrown into it, whereas like Dartmouth is still like a pretty small community, and like very tight knit. The town's really small.
What did you go to school for?
So I studied psychology and then was pre-med. So I still ultimately want to go to med school.
Do you?
I'm actually studying for the MCAT right now.
You are?
Yeah, I'm not doing a very good job studying.
You got a full plate.
I took it actually right out of school because I like didn't think I was gonna, like, I just kind of decided to run on like a whim, and thought that I would maybe do it for a year. And so I was like, I'll take the MCAT and then probably go to med school. And then I'm still running and my MCAT expired, so I have to retake it. But
so you took it and whatever score you got was good enough to apply to med school?
Yeah, and then I didn't apply. Oh. So I'm like kind of kicking myself. But I mean, I was not really, because like I wouldn't have been able to give up running. But yeah, I just probably should have waited. Yeah, hopefully I'm like, maybe it will come, like all the stuff will come back, so it'll be easier to study the second time around. And I don't really mind studying. It's like kind of a nice thing to do with running because it's like flexible and you can just get in like time whenever you're free. So it's not too bad.
Yeah. Just less Netflix, more MCAT studying.
Yeah. But like I said, it's like I've not been doing the greatest job of that.
When do you want to take, like, when's your timeline for when you want to take it?
So I had wanted to take it at the end of May. That's just definitely not going to happen. And then it just gets so crazy with races over the summer, and I don't want it to like detract from that. So like I'll probably end up taking it, I would guess like early fall is now the new target. Yeah.
So then what's the timeline once you take it? How long does that stay good?
So it lasts for 3 years.
Okay. So, well, that's good. That's exciting.
Yeah. If I let this one expire, like I just shouldn't go to med school. So yeah. So like once I've taken it, then I have like at least a pretty decent window for when I can apply.
I'm trying to think of other runners. Marty Heher is the only one I can think of that's like gone through the med school thing while competing at a high level. Can you think of others?
I can't really think of others. He's like I don't know how he does it. He's like an inspiration though, where I'm like, well, maybe you can do both. But it's crazy. I mean, I would imagine he's so busy.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think you just have to be all in on the couple things that you're super passionate about. I don't know how you would have time for a social life or anything like that. I mean, Marty, if you're listening, chime in. Maybe you have like the most robust social life I've ever known of, but it just seems like you have to be all in. And also, if you compete at the level you compete at, you seem like the kind of person that probably is all in on what you love to do.
Yeah. And I think that's definitely part of it. And also just like, I think probably like eliminating like time wasting things that like, I think I probably waste like a lot more time than I even realize just doing like dumb random things.
Oh,
like,
don't we all?
So like, I think if you just kind of like pare down that stuff, and yeah, I definitely like, I'm a personality type that likes to be like very all in. So I think that is like suited to me, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that'll be exciting to see. I mean, if it lasts 3 years, you can like just go all in with running for a couple more years before you have to really like distract yourself a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's the plan because I definitely want to go at least through like 2024 and then kind of see what happens from there.
Hey friends, this episode of the podcast is supported by Gooder. If you're not already wearing Gooder sunglasses, you got to get on it. They have the best sunglasses that don't slip around when you're out for a run. They have so many fun colors and styles, and they're so affordable. They're so much fun. They pretty much have a sunglass for every occasion. I actually really love the Apollo Jais for Nothing style right now. They're super fun, and they're only $25. And here's the thing. Did you know when you leave a rating and review on this podcast, we enter you in to win a free pair of Gooder shades? You just leave us a rating and review on iTunes or Spotify. Send me an email, lindsay@sandyboyproductions.com, and we give away a pair of these every single month. But if you aren't already wearing Gooders, you got to get on them. Go to gooder.com, use the code ANOTHER15, and that'll get you 15% off your order at Gooder. That's gooder.com/another. Use the code ANOTHER15 for 15% off your order. All right, back to the show. So the Sound Running meet, national championships, trying to make a world team in June or July?
June. The end of June. Yeah.
Okay, end of June. So like, what does the fall look like for you, regardless of all that?
The fall is usually like pretty low key.
Yeah.
Kind of like a downtime reset period. So like not a lot going on in the fall.
Which makes sense for the MCAT situation then.
Yeah. That's like a perfect time to kind of like be really focused and like do that. Yeah, because then you just kind of start to like slowly build up like mileage and training again, but nothing is like high intensity or like high stress really.
Just comes back on around. Do you ever have any, well, cross country is probably a little long for you. I was gonna say, do you ever have any interest in doing cross country?
I'm terrible at cross country, unfortunately. I did one race after college, my first fall running pro, and almost was like it really made me question if I should like continue running or not. Yeah, I don't know. I've talked about this with other people as well, because I train, I do pretty high mileage, I train a strength-based 1500 runner, so
Okay.
It seems like I should be good at cross country or road races, but I think it's just something about my running economy or whatever that I just don't really get anything out of the ground when I'm running, not on the track.
Okay.
So I mean, I would do it for fun or enjoyment, but probably not competitively.
So then do you swing up? Do you swing up to 5 or swing down to 8 with the 15?
So last year I was more swinging down to 8. And I'll probably do that this year as well. I really like the 800. And then I've run 2 5Ks before. And hopefully I'll do more of that as well. Just trying to branch out a little bit. But ideally that would be kind of the window, 8 to 5K with 15 being the focus.
But you do higher mileage though.
Yeah, I do. I mean, kind of depends on the season and time of year, but I think because the 1500 is funny, I feel you have people who do mileage that ranges from I don't know, 50 to 90, and so I'm definitely probably the higher end of the range.
Oh, that is high.
Yeah, but I mean that's not all the time. That's just sometimes.
When you're peaking in your season and whatnot. Right now, huh?
Yeah, right now I'm probably running 85-ish miles a week, but that's also so I missed the indoor season just because I had a stress reaction to my foot, unfortunately. So I'm just trying to kind of play catch up a little bit with the strength stuff before going into the outdoor season.
How'd you handle that? Were you super bummed?
Yeah, I wish I could say that I handle injuries well. I don't do a terrible job, I guess, but I was just pretty bummed. And I think at least my perception is that for other people it's an immediate you get right back into shape after being injured, and for me it just takes a really long time, or at least it takes a few weeks of really just kind of brutal training where I'm just it's so hard and it's not on paper it's just nothing that you want. So it definitely was a bummer, but I think it's funny with injuries, one is just a part of the sport, and so I've at least learned to kind of understand it as you have to take it as it comes and just roll with it. And then 2, I think it always seems your fitness is never going to come back, and you're so far away, and then all of a sudden you're back to where you were, and it's almost you've forgotten that it even happened. So in the moment it's hard to remember that, but I always try to remind myself 3 weeks from now you'll be completely fine. So yeah.
There are people listening that needed to hear that, because us runners get in our head about our injuries, and you get so frustrated because you had your fitness built up so well and you were running so fast, and it's not all gone. You got to get back to it, but it's not all gone.
Yeah. You just have to have 2 or 3 just really tough weeks where you're questioning everything, and then you're just all right, I'm fine.
So what are your biggest goals for the sport?
My big overarching goal is I would just really like to represent Team USA at either World Championships or the Olympics, and so that has been my big goal through the sport. And then this summer in particular, I really want to break 4 in the 1500.
Okay, what's your PR right now? Is it 401?
It's 401. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. It'll happen.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I think if I can just kind of build on I feel my whole career I've just tried to build each year on the last, and so I'm hoping if I can kind of just build upon last year, I'll get there. But yeah, we'll see.
So where did you run the 401?
I ran that in Stockholm last summer.
Okay.
It was like the week after the trials.
And how big of a PR was that?
A 2-second PR.
That's big.
It was a big PR. It was also like, so I went into that race, like, I wasn't expecting, like, I thought after the Olympic trials, I would have like a down week or two. And so I had planned to, like, we were moving apartments, and so I planned to move that week. So like took a red eye back to Boston from Eugene, like completely exhausted, and then had to move. And then got into this race, and so I was like, well, I have to go. So like spent like 4 like kind of like hellish days. Like it was so hot in Boston. Moving in Boston is like just a nightmare. Like moving all my stuff, like kind of had a breakdown where I was like, there's just like absolutely no way I can race in 3 days. Like I was like carrying my mattress up 2 flights of stairs, and like I don't.
Oh
no
my
way.
gosh.
And so like that made it, honestly, like that made the PR though like so like it was something I was like so excited about, because like I went into that race being like, I mean, I could run like so slow right now. My legs are just like completely fried. But I think just like having that like low expectation, just being like, whatever, I'm just going to like go in and like see what happens, kind of like took a little bit of the pressure off, and then it ended up being good.
That's so cool. You know, there is something about taking the pressure off that seems like we run faster.
Yeah.
Which is probably really challenging as a pro, because there's a lot at stake for big races, like for the Olympic trials and making world's teams and just big Diamond League races. Like there is a lot at stake. So, you know, you kind of like naturally had the pressure removed just because of life circumstances. How can you like make that mental shift in everyday races?
Yeah. And I mean, so that is like the hard part. I've tried recently, especially with workouts. And so I'm going to try to like move this to races as well, to think, because it is hard. Like at the Olympic trials, like there just is pressure, and there's no denying that. And there's no, like, you can't really change that either. But I think like my mentality this spring, especially coming back from injury, has been just like, it doesn't have to be perfect, but like, just like get whatever you can out of yourself today. And so that does kind of, I think I'm naturally kind of a perfectionist. And so like, sometimes if I'm working out and like the splits aren't perfect, it like really frustrates me. So I've tried to like shift that to like, you don't have to be perfect to like get better. And like a race doesn't have to be perfect to still be a good race. And so like making that mental shift, I think, can help, even when it is like a high pressure situation. It's Diamond League or whatever. It's like just thinking like, okay, just like whatever you do today is going to be fine. And then, because like if you know that you've done what you can, like you can't really ask for anything else, you know.
That's a really good mindset. Do you get nervous for workouts, like big giant workouts?
Yeah, definitely. And so, but this is kind of helps, where I'm just like, all right, well, it's going to be whatever it is. Or like if I like don't feel good or something, I'm just like, all right, well, I'm just going to work through as much of it as I can. And like, if I like, I'll do it until I can't do it. And usually that actually ends up like getting you through the workout, and like it ends up being fine.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Helen, what's something professionally or personally that you would like to do that you haven't done yet?
I think pretty much what I was saying, just make Team USA. And then, so that would be my running goal. Like career goal, I'd like to go to med school. And then life goal, I would like to get a dog.
A dog.
Haven't done that yet, but definitely want a dog.
My son came home from school yesterday, and he was like, hey, can you get a picture of me and Cadence? Cadence is our dog, because they're going to put the dogs in the yearbook this year.
Oh, what kind of dog?
She's a mutt. Like she's got her at the Humane Society. She's old. She's 14. Yeah, we got her before we even had any kids, but
wow.
I thought it was so cute that they're putting dogs in the yearbook.
Yeah, I love that.
So good. Do you have any, I know that like a lot of people make these decisions once they're in med school, before they, choose their residency, but do you have any idea of what kind of medicine you want to practice?
So I don't know like super concrete what I would like to do, but I really like genetics, and then I really like endocrinology. And like how that like, I mean, I've thought more and more like I do want to keep running in my life in like some way, even if it's not like I'm not going to run professionally forever. So I would like to kind of like work with athletes, I think, maybe on like the endocrine like side of things. So.
Oh, that's so interesting. Do you pay a lot of attention to your hormones and whatnot?
Not really. Yeah, no, I don't do a great job of that, but I think like I like when I get like blood work done or whatever, I like to look at all the numbers just because I do think it's like interesting. But I don't really do a ton of like monitoring or anything. Okay. Also just I feel like whenever I get blood work, all of my numbers are just very average. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
What do I do with this?
Yeah, totally. What's the best, most recent book you've read?
So I read the book All the Light what's it called?
All the Light We Cannot See.
All the Light We Cannot See. Last summer, so it was like a little bit ago, but I loved that book. I like thought it was just like the writing was incredible and like you just got really sucked in. So
yeah,
I would say that. Yeah. And he has a new book as well, if anybody's interested.
Who's the author?
Anthony Doerr.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't believe I haven't read that book, but I haven't.
It's really good.
Recommend. Yeah, I need to get that into my rotation. Who is someone fun, motivating, or inspiring you would like to have coffee, tea, or cocktail with?
So I don't know if this is like fun or motivating, but definitely kind of inspiring, kind of on like the book theme. I don't know if you know the author Sally Rooney. She wrote the book Normal People.
Okay.
And then this other book that I'm reading right now of hers. And like I think she describes like certain like feelings and experiences with like just like this crazy accuracy. And so like I would just like love to pick her brain on like how she does that and like just like how she like comes up with her characters and her like storylines, because they all feel very like real. And I was like very invested in the book Normal People, and then this other book Conversations with Friends that I read of hers.
Okay, so Julie Ann Stalley, I just interviewed her, and she also recommended this book. And so I had it on my list to take with us on vacation to read. And then my sister was like, I don't think you'll like it. It's kind of depressing. Is that true?
Is it Normal People?
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah, it's kind of depressing.
Okay.
It's good though. I mean, like the characters in it are very, very like vivid and like you get really into it, but it also is kind of like, it's like a bit of like a come down after you finish it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe she was just like, protect your heart on vacation.
Yeah, maybe.
I do have it on my list still though, because it sounded good, like your description and Julianne's description.
Yes, it's super good. I would definitely recommend it.
One thing we didn't talk about that I am just now remembering is about your grandmother.
Oh yeah, so
we have to talk about that. That is so cool.
A random fun fact, because so I'm not really like my family. I'm the only runner like in my immediate family, but my great grandma in like the 1920s was a track runner and ran like it was the 220 yard back then, but had the world record for the indoor 220, I think.
I'm like, is this your great grandmother?
Yeah.
It's
so I never met her. But.
Yeah, it's so wild to me though, because in 1929, like, were women even running? Like, I feel like it was like the 50s or the 60s where like women were like allowed to run.
Well, that was like the coolest thing about it to me was like she was kind of going against the grain with that. Like, I mean, this is like all coming from my grandpa, but he said she had to have like a chaperone accompanying her to different races. And like, it was just a very, very different world. Yeah. And then ultimately she was supposed to run at the Olympics, but was pregnant with my grandpa. So ended up not doing that. But it was always like, I think something that was like very cool to my grandpa that I ran, because it was like the connection that he had with like his mom. So
yeah. Is your grandpa still alive?
Oh no, sadly he passed away a few years ago.
Oh, that is cool though that he got to experience seeing you do that.
Yeah, and he would always send me, like, I mean, he gave me all of her like old like running stuff and like articles on her and stuff, I think just to like inspire me a little bit and stuff.
So it's in the blood, that's for sure. There's the genetics
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, although I don't know if I could really do that well on the 200.
The 200. But you
Yeah.
know, the 15 is still a shorter-ish distance race, so that's definitely coming from her.
Yeah.
What is your last message to leave with our audience today?
So I would say one thing that I've learned like through running and like, you know, the ups and downs of the sport is just like, I think that just because like you're like what you're doing, you don't like love 100% of the time, or sometimes it's hard, doesn't mean that it's like not worth doing. And it doesn't mean that you should give up on it. Cause I think sometimes we have like an unrealistic expectation that like you should be like 100% happy doing what you're doing like 100% of the time, and that's just not real life. But like it doesn't mean that you're not like pursuing something that's also completely worthwhile and like going to be ultimately fulfilling.
That's really good advice. I love it. Thank you.
So that's yeah, I mean, I don't know if that resonates with anybody, but yeah.
Well, I think it's so true. I just, it makes me think of like, I mean, depending on where I am in my like cycle, I'm like just in a better mood and happier and more excited about what I'm pursuing. And then there's just some weeks where I'm just like grumpy, like about everything. And so you can't like let those weeks overtake your thoughts on the big picture.
Yeah. And if I gave up like on this, like any time that I just was unhappy with it, like I would have stopped running a long time ago. And it's been like one of like the best things in my life that I've like happened upon. So I would just like would never want anybody to like give up something just because of like a negative feeling in the moment, I guess.
That's so good. Thank you, Helen.
Yeah.
All right, friends, thanks for being here today. We really appreciate having you listen to the show. Make sure you go check out our newest podcast in the Sandy Boy Productions Podcast Network, Ready to Run. Big thanks to Previnex and Gooder for supporting this episode of the podcast, and ZocDoc. You can learn all about the sponsors of this show and everything Helen and I talked about when you go to sandyboyproductions.com and just click on the All Have Another tab. You can also sign up for our newsletter there, and that's a really easy way to get the show notes delivered to your inbox. Thanks so much for being here. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next week on All Have Another.